Keynote speaker. We have 3 lectures. We start with Professor Tarbut, Professor of GIS in Delta State University and the leader of UN Fiber for North America.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a very good honor to be here. The hospitality and kindness of the Egyptian people has been wonderful. Been here for 4 days now, and I'm very thankful for the team. I looked at the title of this conference, and it said, "Living with Climate Change." And to me, that meant that we have accepted that climate change is going to happen, that we can do nothing about it. We have to live with the problem. Right? Climate change, especially human-induced climate change, we know for 50 years that man, humankind, has been causing the climate change. Why haven't we done something? Why do these problems continue? And so I think part of the message that I want to send is, as scientists, we are terrible communicators. And so I want to talk about that for a minute. So last year in the U.S. there was this is a weather forecast for the 3rd of January. 24 hours before, it says here, the forecast was it will be sunny and nice. 12 hours before, they said, and then 6 hours before the forecast was to become effective, the worst snowstorm in decades hit Washington, D.C. Why? Because of climate change. And it trapped thousands of people on one of the major highways. And the Washington Post made this map about the number of stranded motorists, people who got stuck in the snow and the ice for a very long time. 3 people died because they were stuck on the highway and could not get off. And I looked at this, and I had a hard time telling the difference. Why? Because it's red on the same color scale. To me, as a cartographer, design matters. Maps are communication devices. So just like spoken language, we need to be intentional about the design that we use in our maps. In graphs, yes, in graphs, in any figures that we share. For example, this is the concept of visual hierarchy. If you look at the figure at the right, the first thing you notice is the red line, right? Our eyes, our brains are trained to recognize what's different. If we don't take advantage as a scientific community of things like this, the psychology of looking at maps, the psychology of looking at graphs and figures, our ability to communicate with the public, the people we need to make change so that global climate change slows down, that does not happen. So there is a saying, the best way to lie is with a map. One of the other big changes that has happened in the past 25, 30 years is the start of Geographic Information Systems, GIS. Everybody who, have you heard of GIS and remote sensing? Yes? Right.
Is this any better? Done. So, one of the problems, who has heard of GIS? Remote sensing. Who has made a map? One of the things that has happened in the last 25 years is the ability to access the software and data to make maps has made it easier and easier. So now everybody thinks they're a genius, they can make a map, especially scientists, right? But when we think things through, how people get their information now, who watches the news to get information? No? Nobody? Who uses Twitter? Who gets information or news from Facebook? Now the problem gets worse, because not only can any scientist make a map or a figure and publish it for everybody to see, anybody can. So you end up with problems like this. And this is a map that I made after Hurricane Katrina. I was asked to show the number of people who had lost electrical power. So my go-to for the bad part, red. If the power was still intact, green. And when you look at this, you go, oh, this is horrible. But if I reverse this to show the number of people who still had electricity and use green, I tell a very different story. Same data, but different story. In fact, if I look over an 8-day period, you can see the restoration of electric power after the hurricane. But it made me develop a working theory, and I will move quick, is that we are shouting using maps, graphs, memes, things like this at everybody all the time. Red. This is for earthquake risk. The probability of a major earthquake where it is red is less than 0.01%. But if you live here, oh, an earthquake is going to come, right? Why? Because we're using red. And we can go through disaster return period. I can go through any type of map about climate change or disaster on a local, national, or global scale, and we show red all the time. Here is climate change. When I look for a map saying, what is the climate change going to be? Red, 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 red. Right? People then get used to us yelling at them about the climate change method or the climate change problem. It's just like you have a child and you say, stop doing that, and they do it. Stop doing that, they do it. Right? Why? Because they tune it out. It is the same message over and over and over again. We just get used to it and stop listening. And for us as scientists trying to deal with climate change, it doesn't mean we just change the colors. This is a map of the risk for tornado. The risk in the green area is more than 25%. We just don't know how to tell the story very well. We need to communicate local action at the community level. We need to make our message about climate change connect with the people we need to act, to do something about risk. So, I think, this is my opinion and early research, is that we overwarn, we use scare tactics about climate change. particularly in the messaging we send. It's always, people will die, the city will go underwater, the hurricanes will come. Does that make you use less carbon? Does it make you change your mind about using a plastic bottle instead of washing your glass? No. But those are the things that we can do at the individual or local level to slow or stop climate change, so that the message in 5 years, when this meeting happens again, after 5 years, it is not living with climate change, it is we have stopped climate change. So unless we can become better at communicating that message, what happens is every time we do it right now and put red on the map for coastal change, increased probability of storms, every time we do that, especially with Twitter or Facebook, we are amplifying the risk and people listen less. So that is my story. There are some of the research challenges involved. If you are a social scientist, I would welcome a partnership. This is new to me, and that is my story, some references. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, I would like first to congratulate our colleagues, friends here at Egypt to organize all these interesting meetings. And we are very glad to be here with you and to spend some days in your interesting and also wonderful cast. We always enjoy your company. Best regards also from the colleagues from Cast Research Institute. This is one of the institutes of the Research Center of Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Art. You can see Slovenia, half of Slovenia is a karst, and our region, Kras, is given the name for the landscape developing in the carbonate rocks, and with its descriptions, karstology has started to develop. Because we are in a classical karst, we are trying to develop classical karstology. That means that we are in the interdisciplinary way connecting the approaches of karst geology, geomorphology, speleology, hydrology, biology, microbiology, ecology, and karst development. It's very important to know how the different rocks are influencing on the development of the karst features. We are researching the stone forest in China for 25 years. How the tectonics is influencing in the development in the karst surface, karst caves, and we are also developing the micro measurements in the karst caves. The oldest features in our karst are so-called paleokarst features, which tells us a lot about the regional geology. We are developing or deepening the knowledge about the karst surface, from the largest karst features to the inscriptions on the rock, there are very important traits how the karst is development in the different circumstances and different rocks around the world. We are collecting also the data about karst caves. At the moment, we have 40,500 known caves in Slovenia. We are studying the processes of their development, different features which tell us a lot about the way of the development and how the caves are forming. From the flowstone and sediment in the caves, it's possible to recognize how the caves are old. This is not just important the ages, but also it's important to understand regional development of the karst. You can see an old cave which has developed in completely different circumstances is now on the top of the mountain. And from this we can conclude that this mountain has elevated 900 meters in 1 million years, 2 million years. We are developing the research methodology from the field research work to the mathematical and computer modeling. You can see the breakthrough is the very important stage, first stage of the development of the caves, and of course other things. More than half of the waters which we are supplying in Slovenia are from karst aquifers. So we are leading or making the state database for the underground water connections. We are studying the karst aquifers and of course the vulnerability of and the sources of the water in the karst. Our karst is very rich regarding the biodiversity. From the cave microbiology we can recognize the life better in the underground and also our influences on the caves and underground. In the comprehensive way we are developing also the karst features for the tourism, karst caves for example. So we have developed quite detailed biological and climatological monitoring in the caves. Every year we publish 3 numbers of the Arctic Castologica. This is the scientific review with International Science Citation Index, and larger studies we are connecting in books. We have established also the doctor study of castology. Every year we are preparing also the International Castological School, the largest castologically yearly meeting, and in the institute is also the seat of Union International Speleology. We all know that good science is today possible to develop just in the tighter international cooperation, so we cooperate with the castologists from whole world, and for example with the colleagues from Union University we have established also in Kunming Research Center for Castology. Relatively new is our endeavor in the development of the European infrastructure net. We are trying to prepare, to organize the data of the research work that they will be useful for the wider community. Comprehensive castology. First is deepening the basic knowledge, then this basic knowledge is the fundament to understand our natural and cultural heritage, and also the base for the planning the life on karst and its protection. Just one example, so we are involved in several so-called applicative study, and for example, we were involved also in the building a new motorways in Slovenia, investing the 75 kilometers, 300 of caves, new caves opened. We researched, of course, all of them, and the result data were very useful also for the builders. You can see small entrance but big caves under the motorway. Of course, we research all of them as much as possible. We have learned a lot about the development of the caves, and we have also distinguished this special feature. Unroofed cave, the karst surface is lowering and the caves are coming to the surface. So when we are talking about the karst surface, we all the time we have to have in the mind three-dimensional development of the karst. Now we are much better when we are studying the relations between karst surface and caves. For the sediment in the caves which we found during the construction, we found also that these are the eldest cave in Slovenian karst. But in the other side, we were trying to protect all the caves. We were not destroying the caves or filling with the gravel or something like this, but we were just simply closing them. And now they are hidden below the motorway, and from the artificial entrances we still can reach them and continue with our research work. Some examples. This one we left open for the travelers to get an impression when the people are traveling. So we can learn a lot about how to preserve the caves, from old caves to the today's shaft, old type of the caves. And this is, for example, artificial entrance in the tunnel. We just go in and we can connect it. Below the motorways we put the concrete tubes, and now we can research all cave around the tunnel. The caves which we are using at the moment we are also checking by georadar to avoid some collapses. Our motorways are impermeable. The water is not flowing directly from the motorway to the cars, but we are collecting it in the so-called oil collector, and later they are left into the cars. In the southern Slovenia, where the cast is covered with the thick layers of the sediment and soil, we have opportunity to study ores for subsoil. Stone forest, a special feature we found when the motorways were constructed in the Breccia, this is about the high cast plateau. If somebody is interested more in detail, we have also connected all results of the research work and published in the Springer editing class. Thank you. My colleague Martin, please, will continue with our research work. Martin is now leading the doctoral study of karstology, unique such study in the world. She will tell us more about it.
Dear colleagues, they already mentioned our doctoral study. I will tell a couple words more about our study. So this is one of the tasks, very important also at the institute, that we perform not by ourselves only, but in collaboration with the University of Nova Gorica. The idea and design for this study was developed at our Institute for Karst Researchers, some 20-30 years ago. Our doctoral study is the only study of karstology, is a separate and comprehensive study in the world. The only such study that we have. Yes, we can say why. First, in Slovenia, we have an exceptional natural karst heritage, and not at the end, our institute is one of centers of global karstology. Our doctoral study, which we developed at the institute, is the only study of karstology in the world where students can obtain the title Doctor of Karstology. It is the only one that we have. By now, we have 50 students from 8 countries, 28 students from 10 countries, Slovenia, Italy, Brazil, Serbia, Bosnia, Macedonia, Canada, Croatia, Costa Rica, USA, already successfully finished their studies and became Doctors of Science in Karstology. In 2014, UNESCO found out our study is really something special, and named it UNESCO Chair on Karst Education. It was the first UNESCO chair in Slovenia, and it is the only UNESCO chair with name Karst in its title. With kind attention of our dear friend Migdi, Tara, our UNESCO chair is also one of scientific sponsors of this distinguished meeting. Migdi, thank you very much. Okay, another very interesting research. You want to say something? Another very interesting research that we perform at the Institute is planning and now construction of new railway which crosses classical karst. We are involved in this project for many years. Now this project is found out as one of most demanding constructions in Middle Europe. With green arrow, we see already built a motorway viaduct, but in red arrow, still sketch, it is still drawing new railway track, which started to be produced. For more than 50 years, colleagues from the Institute, we cooperate in planning and also supervision of new construction sites. What we do? We conduct histological studies of individual segments of the roads or motorways or railways, or bigger ones. Then we prepare basic histological knowledge. We are basic researchers as our first job, which is then applied by civil engineers in the project and then development. We are also often included in basic decision making. Whether it will be produced some construction by TPM machine or classical way and so on. Our work is mostly in 3 stages. First is planning of construction, then supervision of construction, and at the end, monitoring of constructed site. Yeah, karst is a 3-dimensional landscape, and our histological studies are divided into three independent, but of course very connected fields. At the top we have karst surface, below the surface we have karst underground, and surface and underground, which are caves, connects karst hydrology or water. When we do planning, Slovenia of course, we should be aware that almost half of Slovenia consists of karst. And more than half of water that we use, we get from karst aquifers. This is first and very important fact. The second, already today mentioned, Slovenia is land of classical karst. The name of karst came from our country, from Slovenia, from our so-called classical karst. This delicate karst landscape, of course, demands that we are very familiar with it. We have to preserve it. Why? It is our natural and also our cultural history. We carry out histological supervision during traffic ways construction or some other construction. So we do supervision. We study newly discovered karst phenomena, which are open during the constructions. And of course, we also advise how to preserve these karstic features. Histological supervision is followed by monitoring. When the construction site is already finished, made, constructed, we study impact of traffic ways, motorways, railways, on karst waters. The new railway track, which I mentioned, is part of 5th European railway corridor, it is so called, which crosses Slovenia. Italy, Croatia, Austria, this red is Slovenia, and this yellow stripe, this is so-called 5th European corridor and crosses Slovenia by the center. The most demanding fact of this construction is short and very steep climb from seaside to the top of classical karst, which is about 500 meters above sea level. The first idea how to connect was connect Port of Koper, which is in Slovenia, Port of Trieste, which is in Italy, with the top of classical karst. At some times, several variants we were working on, and at the end, also we as politicians decided to connect Port of Koper, which is in Slovenia, with the top of so-called classical karst. We, of course, researched the surface, we researched typical dolines, collapsed dolines, unroofed caves, we researched remains of caves in nearby quarries, of course, all the time along the new construction. We were working on the underground. We studied, this red line is new railway track, we studied almost 200 caves to understand this karst block and to advise builders how to construct these tunnels. One cave is very near of the planned track. We measured it in detail. It is several kilometers long. We measured it in detail once again, and we found out that one of the tunnel tubes will cross one of the very important big water cave. We researched, of course, also waters. We studied all the springs along the traffic, new railway track, all the pontoons, all other connections connected with waters. We made several underground water experience to see where the water will flow. Shortly, our results. Our main task was to present to builders frequency, size, and type of possible caves that we'll find, that will touch during the construction of these long tunnels through the karst. And we showed below, you can see for each geological segment how many caves and how big will be. So we made a plan which was not, of course, you can imagine, very easy. After our Christological researches, I can show you 4 basic contributions that we made for this important construction. First one I already mentioned that it was first we found out that one of the tunnels will touch this important big water cave full of water. That's why we moved both tunnels from the cave for some 80 meters. That's why for the first time this railway track was straight. After our information, the track was moved for about 80 meters out of this important and dangerous water cave. Second, regarding our information, that classification along these new tunnels will be high, the decision was taken not to use TBM machine, tunnel boring machine, which is much faster, but it will be constructed on classical, so-called new Austrian tunneling method. It was very important decision and to receive correction. Third one, basic contribution of our researchers, we installed several data loggers in water caves, and we found out in some part of tunnels during the high waters there will be level of water at least 10 meters above the new constructed tunnel. Important information for constructors at that time, during high waters, they should not construct tunnels there because they will be flooded because the water is very high. And the fourth is connected with hydrogeology. We showed all the possibilities where water will flow during from the constructed site. This green is Slovenia, this white is Italy. A lot of water is flowing underground from Slovenia to Italy, and we have to be aware of this and be very careful during the construction. The construction already started in August last year, started on the surface, started in the tunnel, and up to now we found 27 huge caves already during the construction, several of them over 100 meters high and several hundred meters long. About our planning of this important construction in Middle Europe, we published some years ago a very interesting book in this same publishing house as before one about thank you very much.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا بكم. بحث عن الإخراج الفكرية في نهاية الزمن الرابع على أمواج ساحل البحر. This paper the change climate and net vocabulary and the cost of the Red Sea and basin and low plants in the coast. البحث أصلا بتكلم فيه على أو اسم البحث نفسه اللي هو uniform evidence on the climate change worldwide and in the Egypt Red Sea coast of the Mediterranean في نهاية الزمن الرابع. البحث دوت الهدف الرئيسي هو دراسة التغيرات حصلت في نهاية الزمن الرابع والتأثير على صوت مش واضح مش واضح
على المايك
اوصل لك من غير مايك سمعنا كده كثير جدا ما سمعنا على فترات المطر والجفاف في مصر، وهي اللي عملت الأودية الجافة، وهي اللي كونت الأودية الجافة في مصر. ونتيجة جريان المية في الأودية الجافة عملت في نهاية الأودية مراوح فيضية. هذه المراوح الفيضية نتيجة فترات المطر والجفاف. فمن خلال دراستي لرواسب المراوح في ساحل البحر الأحمر أكثر من 30 سنة اتضح انه ليست هي السبب الرئيس في دراسه او في تكوين هذه المراوح الفيضيه. بمعنى انه في فترات سيليه عباره عن شوز كثيره جدا، امطار نزلت في فترات مختلفه واخذت كل الرواسب الموجوده في بطون وجوانب الاوديه وقمم الجبال، جوالي مثلا الجبال كمثال اللي انا هتكلم عنه دوت، وكونت هذه المراوح الفيضيه على ساحل البحر. والدليل على ذلك باختصار شديد جدا عملنا تحليل ميكانيكال كيميكال نيورولوجيكال للكومبوزيشن او الرواسب الموجوده في المروحه الفيضيه. هذه الرواسب لقيت فيها نسبه معادن كوارتز وفلسبارز فوق 70%. نسبه معادن الطين لا تزيد عن 15%، وهذا يعني زيادة نسبة معادن كوارتز أن المصدر الريسورس البيئة المصدرية للوادي الجاف فيها تجوية ميكانيكية ميكانيكال ويزرنج، مش تجوية كيميائية، لأن لو في مطر هيبقى في تجوية كيميائية، وبالتالي بتخلي معادن الطين فوق سطح الجرانيت فبتحلل وتدوب كمية الطين البسيطة الموجودة في معدن الجرانيت أو في سطح الجرانيت وترسبها في نهاية المسار. كل فكرة البحث بتدور على هذا الأساس. فاحنا هنا هنا بنقول إنه في الزمن الرابع وعصر الزمن الرابع في أدلة بتقول إن وادي الجمال دوت أو المروحة بتاعته اتكونت من خلال فترات السيول وليست فترات المطر والجفاف. عشان كده بنقول في هذا العصر كانت الامطار and rise of the road المطر او الجفاف or trends that starts in the back steady في الاوديه الرافديه لوادي الجاف. ونفس الحكايه في الهيد مينرالز اللي اتكونت، هل هي اللي كونت هذه الامطار المراوح ولا لا؟ فهنا اتضح ان نسبه المعادن نسبة المعادن بتاعت الطين لا تزيد عن 15%. أما معادن الكوارتز حوالي 70 و 80%. ده معناه إنه مش الفترات المطيرة الدايمة. ده موقع المروحة بتاعت وادي الجمال، وادي الجمال أهو على ساحل البحر الأحمر. ودي السامبلز اللي احنا خدناها من المروحة. وده تصوير في الوادي والبورترز بتاعت وادي الجمال نفسه والاوديه المجاوره ليه بدراسه المراوح بتاعتها. وكانت النتيجه انه هذه الدلتا المروحيه، انا سميتها كده دلتا مروحيه لانه هي في البحر على ساحل البحر الاحمر جوه الميه، تمثلت جوه الميه. وده عباره عن الهيستوجرام دوت معدن كوارتز من الفلسبارز، اعلى معدنين موجودين في الرواسب. ده دليل على انه في فترات جفاف وتنويه ميكانيكيه. والمعادن الطين كلها تحت من اسفل هي زي الانايت مثلا نسبته بسيطه جدا. ده دليل على تنويه كيميائيه، يعني امطار على البيئه المصدريه امطار كانت فيري لو. نفس الحكايه اهو احنا بنقولوا انه المناخ حصل فيه تغير في المطر وفترات جفاف في البليسوسين. والدليل على ذلك في هذه الدراسه من وادي الجمال انه نسبه المعادن بتاعت الكوارتز بتاع فوق 70%، اما المعادن بتاع الطينيه اقل منها. ده صف الجرانيت بتاع جانب احد اوديه وادي الجمال، ليس وشيست وجرانيت، الثلاثه دول فقط. بعض الصخور الرسوبيه اللي هي بتتفتت نتيجه الامطار. هنا بقى البوردرز او البروكسز والكبل والبيبل والسانس كلها متجمعه. نسبه الكتل الصخريه ضخمه مجروفه وسط شريان سيلي قوي، مش رواسب ناعمه قدر امطار منتظمه. نفس الحكايه هنا في فترات في المطر، كذا فتره سيليه، ادي فتره ثانيه وفتره ثالثه وفتره رابعه، يعني معناها فترات سيليه متلاحقه ورا بعضها. دي برضه بولدرز هي بتصل لغايه الفصل بتاع الوادي نفسه على ساحل البحر الاحمر. ودي عباره عن مصب الوادي عند المروحه. دي المصب عند المروحه، دي بحيره متكونه عند المصب بتاع مروحه وادي الجمال. هنا عمليه الرواسب والبيئه الترسيبيه في بيئه بحيريه، ليكسز، مارين، ريفرز، وبيئات واديه، ساد ديوز، كل ده موجود في الرواسب الموجوده في المروحه. ده عند مصب، عند مصب الوادي اون ذا بيتش على الشاطئ نفسه. فمعناه انه الرواسب ديت وقوه السيل كانت شديده جدا فدفعت الرواسب دي لغايه مصب الوادي. دي نفس الحكايه عند المصب، كتل صخريه ضخمه جدا ماشيه حوالي 80 كيلومتر 80 كيلومتر في مجرى الوادي. فمعنى كده انه الميه كانت قويه جدا ودفعتها لخط الشاطئ. برضه دي كتله صخريه في قلب الوادي نفسه. ودي منحنيات انستجرام بتبين تحليل الرواسب. وهنا طبعا البيئه المصدريه بتتراجع للوراء، وبيئه التجسيد بتنمو الى اعلى، والبيئه البحريه بتزيد فيها الرواسب اكتر. دي فتره سيليه بسيطه. ده برضه البحر، هما الاثنين جنب بعض، بحيره عذبه والميه المالحه في البحر. ودي تقريبا التسع مراحل اللي انا تخيلت انه كونت فيها الرواسب. اول حاجه evolution of the stage في وادي الجمال of the Red Sea coast. اول مرحله انه مستوى البحر sea level rise and the coral reefs are formed with fast sediments taking up to the oldest of the Pleistocene and the coastal sediments. المرحلة الثانية as of the end of the middle Pleistocene, the sea level decrease and there were torrential runoff of the sediments. المرحلة الثالثة the occurrence of the marine pollution and the formation of marshes, beaches and coral. المرحلة الرابعة the foot of the marine deposits rested in the silk runoff. المرحلة الخامسة rise of the second time ارتفع مع نزول البحر مرة ثانية and the feeding of the shark, the ball and the mangrove. كونت الشؤون الموجودة على ساحل البحر الأحمر كانت سبب من ضمن الأسباب اللي كونتها الأمطار اللي بتجري في خطوط الفولت لاين بتاعت ساحل البحر الأحمر. المرحلة السابعة the sea decrease and the erosion acted on the formation of the gypsum and selena increase في نفس المنطقة. السلينة دي عبارة عن رواسب جبسية، رواسب جبس تقترب من الجبس كده واتكونت في المرحلة دي وموجودة تكويناتها على خط الساحل. المرحلة نمبر 8 at the end of the Pleistocene there was decrease and the rainfall and deposits of the world active. طبعا حصل فيه بقى ايه عملية ترانسجريشن وريجريشن للبحر. المرتين دول تكونت فيهم هذه المروحة اللي فيها رواسب مارين ديبوزيتس وفيها رواسب ودية وادي ديبوزيتس. آخر مرحلة اللي هي في الأكيول ذا سي رايز ارتفعت مية البحر and في نهاية الهولوسين is this then the bearing of the Holocene and the formation of gypsum, selena and modern coral reef اللي هي المرجان الحديث اللي اتكون دلوقتي على جوانب المروحة الطويلة. فأعتقد إنه المراحل دي طبعا في بعد كده أنا عامل نفس الحكاية هنا هو ملخص ليها برضه في النتائج بقول نفس الكلام اللي احنا توصلنا إليه في المراحل التسعة. بعد كده بقى إيه آخر حاجة برضه لها علاقة بالنتائج تقريبا اللي احنا إيه توصلنا إليه. شكرا لكم ولو في أي حد عايز يسأل على حاجة